What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Be Battle Ready podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Campo, and I created this podcast to give you the insights, strategies, and tactics to help you build a multiple six-figure battle-ready business. And it's not just this podcast. If you head over to battlereadybusiness.com, you can learn more about my coaching. The framework of this podcast, each week we'll cover a different topic. Week 1, we'll cover leadership. Week 2, we'll cover marketing. Week 3, we'll cover sales. And week 4, we'll cover lifestyle and personal development. We do this by having deep dive conversations with leaders, influencers, movers, and shakers in their respective areas of expertise. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show.
All right. So just want to say welcome. Thanks so much for joining me and us and everything else. I'm here with Peter Scott. I want to welcome everybody to the third episode of the Be Battle Ready show, where we dig deep into what it takes to build a battle ready business in your sales, marketing, leadership, and systems, so you can go to war in the marketplace and win. I'm your host, Anthony Campo, and I'm the founder of Battle Ready Business, lifestyle, and business coach. And I'm super excited to have my second guest, Peter Scott, tonight in episode number 3 of the Be Battle Ready show, where we're going to be discussing sales. And then I kind of threw him a loop. I got inspired, and I want to segue later on into crafting your sales message.
Anthony, I am totally flexible tonight, man. So throw me a curveball. I can handle it, dude. I'm just excited to be with you on this interview.
Yeah, perfect. So let's just give me your little intro to yourself, and tell me.
Sure, man. Well, the topic of sales. My gosh, this is a topic that lights me up now. And at a certain stage in my life, not too long ago, I would say probably about 5 years ago, was a total nightmare. I had so much resistance and judgment and fear around selling. And it's interesting because since launching my coaching business, that's the lifeblood of growing a business, isn't it? Like, is there a more important skill set to have than learning how to sell your product or service? No, that's it, right?
No.
And as a coach, and I know, having mentored many coaches, that this is one of the biggest blocks, I believe, of specifically coaches, but also entrepreneurs in general.
Yeah.
Because we have these, preconceived notions. We have these experiences on the used car lot, right? Or we have this experience where our mom or our dad or our family told us that it's bad to sell something. And we bring all this baggage into one of the greatest services that you can provide. So I've had a whole life consumed by fear of selling, and I can't wait to talk about that and also how to craft your message tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, I was actually listening. We kind of talked about this book on the plane. I did a 24-hour turnaround, little over that, to Santa Barbara and back for a wedding. And I was listening to Olin Keats pitch anything, and he was talking about all the traditional ways of selling. And, obviously we both talked a little bit about that book and his perspective on it. And it's and it comes down to, that's why those old sales techniques, you're trying to just manipulate and trick and do all this other stuff, and people know they got their bullshit raters out, and they know. So
yeah. And the whole thing, like, strategy is important, right? Like in anything, you've got to have the skill sets in order to know what to say and how to say it. But at the end of the day, what's more important than anything that you say is your mindset behind what you're doing, your energy around it. If you're going into an interaction with somebody and your goal or your intention is to close them, right? To do something like that, literally, you are going to be energetically pushing this person away, because you're going to come out them with this energy that they are going to have to meet in the opposite direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you come from a place of, okay, who knows what this conversation is going to turn into? How can I just start from a place of service and really help somebody into the vision that they have? The pressure fades away.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about this.
That's awesome. All right. So let's just get a little bit of a few questions for you. So tell me how you got started in business, and, how and where you are now.
Yeah, so I have a coaching business. I coach coaches. I help them go from 0 to 6 figures as fast as possible. And I launched my coaching business about a little over 4 years ago. And the other thing that I do in the business is really shift people's relationship with fear so that it no longer stops them. I believe that fear is the biggest thing or the only thing that stops us from where we want to go in life, whether it's in business or in our health or in our relationships. And the reason I know that is because my entire life has been consumed by fear, my entire life, right? And I became a student of it when I was really young. It started in a pretty traumatic experience. I was 10 years old. I was sitting down in a courtroom with my grandparents on my left, an attorney on my right, and my mother directly across from me. And at 10 years old, I had to tell my mom and look into her eyes and tell her that I no longer felt safe living with her because of her alcoholism. And Anthony, that was devastating, man. 10 years old, right? And what happened was that child, like my 10-year-old self, made a decision. And this is what, for you watching this, or you watching the replay of this, or you watching live, this is what happens. We go through these experiences in life. And if something seems significant or traumatic, our unconscious mind makes a decision. And my decision was that by telling my mom the truth, I'd lost her love. Right? I saw the color drain from her face. I saw the sadness. I saw the tears come down her eyes. And I felt like I told her the truth and I had lost her love. And I generalized that into an overarching belief that telling the truth equals losing love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, thank God she's, been sober for 19 years. She's, now living out here in San Diego, and our relationship is unbelievable. Actually, earlier, just a few hours ago, her and my sister just went skydiving. So, a family that likes to face fear, right? How this connects to what I'm doing is that fear that I experienced as a 10-year-old, I carried with me my whole life. I became this inauthentic, people-pleasing version of myself so that I could just get love and approval and validation from everybody outside of me.
Yeah.
And that could be one of the biggest obstacles as it comes to sales, right? When it comes to sales, if your goal is to people please, if your goal is to say whatever you need to be liked, then those moments when there is some resistance or some fear on that person, when you have the utmost certainty that whatever their decision is to move forward, when they say yes, it's going to help them. If you please or get in the way, then you're not going to take a stand for them. And that's what I was showing up. And I was struggling in business. My first year is really challenging, Anthony. And then I kind of shifted my understanding and my belief around sales and what it meant. And I just saw my own business and then eventually my clients' businesses grow considerably because I've let go of all the baggage, all the beliefs that were no longer serving me. So I can create from a blank slate. And that's something that I think everyone watching this would benefit from considering to do.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back to, I was in college and I wanted to learn more about, human performance, and someone's like, go be a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness. And at that time, the guy was like, go do your cert and come back when you're ready, whatever, and you have your national cert, all this other stuff. And then they just threw me out on the floor and they're like, go make people wrong, pretty much. Go tell them what they're doing wrong. And I failed on my face because it was so inauthentic. It didn't really create a relationship. And then, I went back to playing football for the season and then ended up coming back, starting again a little while later. And it just hit me one day. I'm just going to walk around and say hi to everybody. Right. And that's it. That's all I did. It was just like, hey, how are you doing? Just, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how are you doing? And I was there all the time. And it ended up just clicking and then people started naturally having conversations with me and then asking me questions. And then, once we got into that dialogue, I was like, hey, do you want to do a training session? And then, I had really good success, doing that. So, that's how I've trained my, my past, staff members, literally just go staff. Yeah.
Well, you took it down, right? So you took the close out of it. You're like, hey, don't focus on closing them or enrolling them as a new client right away. Focus on just opening up a conversation and connecting with them.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you do that, there's no more pressure. Right? And you can come from a really genuine, authentic place and build a bond. And then from there, you find, oh, they're struggling with this. Maybe you can help them. Oh, they've been trying to do this on their own for a while and it hasn't worked. Then you can start planting the seeds of how you could help them and how you could close that gap between where they are and where they want to be.
Yep, absolutely. So cool. So let's get on to another question. So, I mean, you might have talked about it. If you could summarize your philosophy on sales, like what would it be?
I love this question. So I don't think I've ever put it into words. So let me do the best that I can in this first attempt.
All right.
What I would say is that my philosophy on sales is ethically influencing somebody to make both a logical and an emotional decision that's going to create momentum in the direction that they want to go in their life. That's it. That's what we do in sales, right? We find out where somebody wants to go. Okay,
Yeah.
there's this place in their body as a personal trainer, and they don't want to be there. They want to be somewhere else. Okay, how can we ethically influence them to overcome that fear or that doubt or that insecurity or that story that they told that it was said, well, I've tried this before and I've set New Year's resolutions every year for the last 5 years. And by February, I failed and I failed and failed and all of this stuff. Our job is to ethically influence them to face that, to overcome that, and to take that next step to move towards a vision that they have.
Yep.
So that's how I would define that. And just, could you see how when you feel that way about sales, there's less resistance about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
And I think I think that personally is the foundation to winning at the game of sales.
Yeah.
And again, I honestly don't even like to use the word winning because then it implies there's a losing.
Yeah.
If you're ethically influencing somebody into something that benefits them, there is no losing. That's a win-win for both of you and a win for whole.
I was just say, hey, you do it right, it's win-win. So
yeah. So coming from that place and then really committing to, I'm a huge, and you know this, Anthony, a student to mastering your craft. You think about not only how to become best in the world at what you do, but how to actually deliver that thing that you do. Those are two different skill sets, right? You know that I coach a lot of coaches, and I love that coaches generally just want to help people. Me too, I get it. And if you do that without mastering sales or marketing or systems or these other fundamental skill sets, you will absolutely struggle. And if you think about you're driven by impact to really help people, how could you help somebody who's never heard who you are? How could you help somebody who you are afraid of going into a conversation with to offer your coaching? Like that's the shift, is coming from that place of like, okay, how can I let go of that old story? And then how can I be, and this doesn't happen overnight, right? This comes through listening to podcasts like this, through reading books, through hiring mentors, through attending seminars, years and years and years of doing this.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of effort, especially once if you can go blindly into the battle, let's say, right? You can do that for a while, but that you're going to eventually hit a ceiling there. And then, you're going to have to try to learn how to build your team better. And you're going to have to grow, and you're going to have to build your skill set and, all the tools that you have at hand, right? So that you could overcome that.
Exactly
So.
Right.
So tell me about your biggest victory.
In the context of sales?
Sales. I mean, could be sales, could be business, could be,
Yeah, let me think. Okay, so my biggest victory, it all starts with us, I believe, right? So I don't look at closing a big deal as the biggest victory, even though we value that as highly committed entrepreneurs, right? We want to grow our business. We want to impact a lot of lives. I think selling myself into actually believing that sales was good, that was the biggest victory, because I had so much bullshit around that.
Yeah.
I had so much. And I remember like when I started my career as an investment banker, I don't think I had a negative connotation of sales, but as I got into personal growth, I was really a sales consultant before I launched my coaching business.
Yeah.
This company called Lifebook. They're amazing. If anyone's watching this, check them out. Unbelievable. And I really believed in the product. I thought it was one of the best personal development programs on the planet. And some of the people that were training me inside that company at the time, they don't work there anymore, weren't coming from this place of integrity. They were coming from this place of like, here's the script, memorize the script, push, 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 close, 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 right? And it just built this almost resentment to selling. And so I had to recondition my mind, and that was the greatest victory when it came to success in sales.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm really, really proud of, this is relatively new, but for the first time, I do this 3-day Fearless Life experience. It's a 3-day retreat in San Diego. You know about it, Anthony.
Yep.
And one of my old clients from a kind of totally career back in the day decided to sign up for him and 9 of his executives to come through a private session, a private event with me. And that's huge because I remember just 2 years ago, before doing this at all, I had so much like, who am I to do this? What do I know? I'm an imposter, blah, blah, blah. And then I see this, incredibly successful business owner see enough value in me to say, you know what? I want you to train my entire team and do our company retreat.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a huge victory. And that didn't have, it was experienced externally, but it started internally, right? So I think when we look at victories, instead of becoming attached to the outcome of some interaction that you're having somebody or with some new pitch that you're doing, instead of focusing there, how can you shift your inner world so that your external world, like this becomes your new normal, right? It's no longer like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing victory. I hope that happens someday, one day, maybe again. No, it's like, no, this is just the new normal.
Yeah.
This is the new baseline and where I operate from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Close yourself pretty much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Close yourself on like, that question, who am I, comes up all the time, right?
Yep.
It's this internal challenge, right? You're whatever you want to call it, challenging you. Like, who are you, right? Who are you to do that? And, like kind of going off the side, but it can relate to sales, but like, who are you? You need to step up and say, I am this, and do that, right? It's just it's you to come up, step up and meet that challenge and walk through that challenge. Because a lot of times the fears, right? The fears, the challenges, those internal doubts, they seem so big, but once you start stepping through them and over them and all that stuff, you're like, wow, when it comes up again, you're like, that's not that big of a deal, right? I'm making it.
You just nailed it. Like, who am I? Like declaring that. There's so much power in a declaration. I remember about 3 years ago, I was at this event in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's called Awesomeness Fest. If you've ever heard of Awesomeness Fest, but it's a really amazing retreat. Lisa Nichols and like a bunch of great personal development thought leaders were there. And it was within the first year, I believe, of me launching my business. And I remember sitting down with this entrepreneur from the UK who had just sold his company for $100 million, right? And he's talking to me, and I'm in my late 20s at the time, and he's asking me, so what do you do? What are you up to? And I didn't have the confidence or the certainty to declare what I did yet, right? So I kind of dodged the question, and I go, well, what I want to do is this. I want to lead these retreats. I want to take people around the world on adventures. I want to do this, And he stops me. And I'll never forget this conversation. He stops me. He goes, Peter, I don't care what you want to do. I don't care what you hope to do one day, someday.
Yeah.
I want to know what you're declaring to do right now. Even if you're not doing it yet, speak as if it's done. Speak as if you're already leading this retreat. And he's like, I'm not suggesting you be unethical here and you lie. What I'm saying is come from a place of like, this has already been created.
Yeah.
Act as if it's already been created. You're already leading entrepreneurs and executives and salespeople on these amazing retreats all around the world. And because that's what would make me want to go. I don't want to go if you tell me that you haven't, committed to this yet.
Yeah.
If you tell me that you're letting your fear stop you from declaring this as your reality, he goes, speak as if it's done. And I mean, take that for you watching this right now, right? Where is it in your life that you're afraid of making a declaration? And this isn't just in business, right? Committing to your health and fitness. This isn't committing to love, right? This is committing to parenting, to your kids, whatever that is. Publicly declare what your commitment is and show up as if it's done. Because when you believe that it's done and when you feel that way, the actions that you take follow. I don't believe, I'm not a big secret kind of guy, right? I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe in that backed by action. So when you have that declaration, and I get excited about this, Anthony. Okay, cool. So yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, the power of belief.
Yeah.
When you start there, even if it's not reality yet, choose it as your reality in this moment and say, okay, I'm committed to this. And then what happens is every step that you take, yes, there'll be setbacks. Yes, there'll be challenges. Yes, there'll be times when you're going in the wrong direction, but at least you've got momentum. The worst thing is indecision. I hope I want this one day and I'm afraid to do it, so I'm just going to stay right here because I don't want to decide I don't want to go down the wrong path. And sometimes you have to go down the wrong path to discover that's the wrong path in the first place.
Yep.
Right? So
you got to find those failures.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So it goes back to, I know there's a book called Be No Do, but the different way of thinking of it is be, do, have, right? To declare who you are, right? In that, right? Related to sales, right? Declare that and then follow the actions to solidify that declaration, right? Then that's how you get to the have, right?
That's exactly right. And it goes against everything, Anthony, that we're taught by society, right? Society, the media has told us, well, no, you need to have this thing first and then you're going to be this way. Oh, you want to be happy? Cool. Buy this car, wear this suit, move into this house.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, wear this diamond necklace. If you do that, then you're going to be happy and fulfilled and joyful. And brother, as an ex-investment banker, I discovered very quickly that that's not how life works.
Yeah.
I remember being the 22-year-old out of college making more money than almost anyone that I knew.
Yeah.
Miserable. Miserable. And I'm not saying it was because of the money. There's no connection to that. It was because I pursued the money at the cost of everything else. I pursued it at the cost of my health. I pursued it at the cost of my relationships, and I made this great living and I just found I was overweight. I was disconnected from friends. I lost relationships, all of this.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, there was a moment, and this is a really valuable story. So this was one of the stories that led me into coaching, actually.
Okay.
This was, I think, in my second or third year of investment banking. And I remember being in the office at around 11 p.m. on a Thursday night. And I was the only analyst there, but one of the managing directors was still in the office. The managing director is like a partner, right? One of the top guys in the firm.
Yep.
And he had nothing pressing the next day. He had no meeting. He had no pitch. He had nothing urgent. And he was in the office because he was afraid to go home to his family because he had neglected them for so long. And this was the man, Anthony, that I was aspiring to become, right? He was my mentor. He was the one that I looked up to. And I just got this beautiful glimpse into the future of saying, if you choose this path unconsciously, and I'm not generalizing all investment bankers that way, right? You can do it while still being a great father, and being a great wife, and being a great mother, and all those things. And for the path that I saw, that was the thing that I was on track of. And that was the moment when I said, okay, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know this is an end.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? Are you a aspiring entrepreneur or business owner who would like to earn multiple six figures? Do you want to build a business to support your dream lifestyle, makes a difference in people's lives, and gets you paid? Then you're in the right place. Because on this page is a button. That button will take you over to my application page to apply for a one-on-one complimentary battle-ready strategy session with me. During that session, we'll identify where you're at, where you want to go, and clarify the self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs that are holding you back. And as well, we'll go over the 4-step battle plan I use to earn multiple six figures and build a battle-ready business. So go ahead and click the link below, get over to my application page, and I look forward to supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to stick to those core values and really, right? If that's something, obviously he didn't place a lot of value on the rest of his life,
Yeah. Well, and the beauty thing is that's what you help your clients with, right?
Yeah.
You help these entrepreneurs, whether they're aspiring, just starting, or they've already built something successful, you help them align that with their mission, their values, all these things, because at a certain point, I mean, man, when it comes to like entrepreneurship is not a game that you can play if you're incongruent.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're incongruent, and I saw this when I used to work at this company called Lifebook, they were very congruent, nothing about them, but we had certain people from the personal development industry, I'm not going to name names, come through, and who they were on stage was very different than who they were off stage, right? And I was like, whoa, I saw YouTube videos of this person, I saw them speak at events, why am I experiencing this rude kind of whatever that experience was, and I just learned, right? You can't just put on a mask and say I'm this person, right? You've got to be your most authentic self and talk about a key to success in sales. When you can unapologetically share your message and be 100% who you are, you find that your enrollment rate, your amount of influence, the impact that you have skyrockets. So
absolutely. So on to a new question. If you had a debate going on in your head, what would it be? What would it sound like? Is it so trivial? It's like In-N-Out versus Five Guys, or is it something else? Is it deeper than that?
I made a commitment a few years ago to give myself I think it was a 30-second rule on anything and any decision that was less than a couple $100.
Yeah.
So when it comes to those little things, do I, purchase this ticket or do I do this? It's I just default to I can't make a wrong decision there, right? Yeah. Some of the bigger. What's the question that you?
So if you have a debate going on in this,
yeah. So, I mean, I think right now the debate that I have in my mind is the balance, and this is still a struggle, right, with me. The balance of experiencing the benefits of growing a business, and the balance of what it takes to really grow a business, right? Because I got into building a coaching business because one of my highest values is freedom. And I wanted to create a career and a business that aligned with that and gave me the freedom to travel and to work wherever I want in the world. And I have those things. And I find myself choosing to put more time into work, right, into growing the business than actually experiencing the freedom that I wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's an internal debate that goes on, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that, noticing that actually when I choose to go on vacation, right, like Amy, my girlfriend, and I are going to be going to Hawaii the end of this month. We're going to be we've got a lot of trips coming up, and what happens is when I do that, my business actually grows, right? Yeah. Because I have more energy, I'm more excited. My cup is full so that when I have coaching calls with clients, they're getting more value from it. Yeah. So that's kind of more of the debate that's going on now. And I feel like I'm there's always still some hesitation there. Not always, but sometimes. And I feel like I've worked through a lot of that stuff.
Well, sometimes when you do that if you have a team with you, in a brick and mortar or whatever that would be, you actually you get out of the business's way, right?
Yes.
You can be a cog that, something that's stopping the flow of everything. And just by stepping back a little bit, it's, even if something breaks a little bit, it's good for you to see that, it's also good. There's a lot of things by stepping out, not completely, but just stepping back and allowing the business and the system to run without you.
Letting go of control, right? I would say that if there's one big challenge for me, it's letting go of control and delegating, right? Because I want it to be right really well. And this is important for like everyone who's watching this to realize, like, no matter what stage you're at, whether you're just starting out or whether you're, making 10 figures a year, that there's always going to be a next level, right? There's always going to be a place where it's like, oh, here's how I'm being my bottleneck right now, right? And the crazy thing is, what got you to where you are now is not what's going to get you to where you want to go, right? So when I was in that 0 to kind of first 6 figures phase, it was like, okay, there's no resources to delegate. There's no possibility of a team right now. I'm just going to roll up my sleeves and figure this out and just grind and hustle, right? Yeah. And that served me, right? And that'll serve many entrepreneurs right when they're starting. And at a certain point, you can either get burned out or you find you're doing things that are not your highest and best, use of your time. So you've got to let go of that old mindset or that old way of being to be like, cool, that got me here. And to get to where I want to go now, it's delegating, it's training, it's leading.
Absolutely. I was actually having a coaching call a few weeks ago, and this topic came up, and I put it in these terms, and he was kind of put back. I said, yeah, just do it and break it. Like, just break it just enough so you see what's wrong. Like you like, by thinking and trying to plan and trying to engineer this system and how the things are going to go within your business, you don't know what's going to happen. It's going to break no matter what. So mine just like ship it. And I was, that was right before I started working with, having somebody help me off, like a virtual assistant. Because I was like, oh, I got to do all this. And I was just me procrastinating. And I went and did it, and I didn't really have much to do for the first 2 days, but then that bugged me. So then I finally got motivated to go do it. I mean, sometimes you just got to get it done, and it might be a little bit sloppy, but at the end of the day, like, it's getting done. You're moving forward, right?
Done is way better than perfect, right? Because perfection is unattainable. And one of my favorite books, I'm not sure if you read this, Anthony. If you haven't, then this is my recommendation for you to read it. But
okay.
Especially anyone else watching this, Ready, Fire, Aim. Have you read that book?
I have not.
Okay, so Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim, and he talks about the different kinds of business.
Yeah. No, I my mom watched this. If my mom watches this, she probably wrote it the prequel to that. So
nice. Okay. So this book is about the different stages of entrepreneurship, right? Of a business owner to get from 0 to 1 million, 1 to 10, 10 to 50, 50 to 100 and 100 above, and 100 million. And it's basically just saying, listen, when you're starting out, you've just got to fire. Like, you can aim after you fire. Right? The moment you try to aim before you fire, then you're going to overanalyze, and you're going to be in that paralysis by analysis, and you're going to never pull the trigger. And to build a battle-ready business, right, which you help your clients for, you need to be willing to break stuff. You need to be willing to put something out there and go, oh, okay, cool. So this isn't 100%. It's more like 70% or 80%. Cool. Now that I know that, how can I go and improve on this, then put out version 2? And then do the same thing, then put out version 3. So constant improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say something. Hey, well, I'll pick up on it. Cool. So let's see. Next question. So what would be the number one piece of advice you would have for someone who wants to, like, open their business, build what I call a battle-ready business? And specifically, let's talk about sales. Like, somebody, this might segue into my inspiration about changing our talk into crafting your sales message, because I really feel like, like, in the process that I'm helping people off, I start with, who they are and who they feel like they could really represent themselves and make the biggest impact in the world. And then how are they going to build a business? What does their business look like around that? And then it's marketing, right? And then it's sales, because within that module of marketing, you start crafting like what that message is, right? So yeah, it's a little bit of marketing, but you yourself, let's talk about that. Like, how can somebody, craft their sales message so they build a battle-ready business in their sales?
Okay, so how can somebody craft their sales message? So number one, I think it's giving yourself permission to share a message that's not perfect in the first place. So I don't think you can sit. I don't think you can sit in your office and come up with the perfect message for your audience. I think the only way that you know whether your message is landing or not is to put it out there and to test it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you've got to come from a place of like, okay, how about I just ship it, right? How about I just fire, and then I base my aiming on the response of the market. And that, I would say, had the single greatest impact on the first year or two of my business, was being willing to not have the right message, being willing to kind of flounder a little bit and go all over the place, being willing to ask for support, having somebody like a mentor who has the results that you want, fast tracks, no matter who you are, fast tracks you, right? One of my first mentors, Garrett White.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett's an incredible mentor and entrepreneur. And I was in a place when I launched my coaching business where I had zero confidence, zero certainty, no following, no message, none of it, right? He didn't give me his message. He didn't give me my message.
Yeah.
He helped me build the commitment and the courage to find that through putting it out there over and over and over again every single day, no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that that's really, really, really important, and paying attention to it. And actually, eventually, when you find out who your ideal client is, talking to them, finding out what is it that they're struggling with, what is their problem, what is their pain, what are the results that they want. Because when you are so clear on who you serve, and I'm talking about like the things that keep them up at night, right? Their nightmares, their fears, their frustrations, what they want, what they hope for, what they dream of. When you are so clear on that, then you can craft your message to meet them. But if you don't know who they are first, then you need to just start by putting the message out there no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
And I don't think there's a better time in history, literally, than to test a message for the least amount of money. I mean, my gosh, I think about what it took my grandfather to test his message in his businesses back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Like,
Yeah.
Are you like, like you couldn't, you know what I mean? Most people couldn't advertise without spending tons of money. Now you get access to testing things in the market in an organic way, and then learning to start doing paid advertising. That's how you kind of come up with your message, but it's putting it out there first. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. The market's the genius, remember?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Cool. So I was actually laughing about this next question because, what advice would you give yourself, your 20-something self? I was going to joke around and say your 30-something self, but, but
well, what advice? Okay, so 20-something self?
Yeah, we have to go there. I mean,
let's go to the 20-something self. So the advice that I would give, I'm going to say when I started my business, which was in my 20s. Yeah, I would say that it takes, and this is a quote, or I don't know who originally said this, but this has been really, really important for me. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I think that we live in a time when we're marketed a lot of things like results without effort, or we're marketed, build 7-figure empire in, the next 30 days. And it sets this unrealistic expectation for how easy it is, right? And I'm not saying that it has to be hard. It doesn't. That was an old belief that I had that I've let go of, and I haven't fully let go of. I'm still letting go of that, right? You've got to struggle in order to succeed, or you've got to struggle if it's going to be meaningful. I don't believe in that. And there are going to be challenges. So even last night, I was hanging out with two of my closest friends and mentors, a guy named Sean Stevenson and a guy named Christian Michelson, two extraordinary coaches. And I told them that oftentimes I compare myself to them.
Yeah.
I go, I feel like I should be further along. I'm in the 4th or 5th year of my business, and you guys were all, way ahead of me. And they're like, actually, we weren't way ahead of you.
Yeah.
You're just making up that story because you didn't see the first 10 years of our struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last 5 years, that's all you've seen. You didn't see the first 10 or 15 years of the moments when like Christian was going to give up and become a garbage man. Like literally, he was
a garbage man.
That was his thing. And now he's built a, really successful coaching business. So patience is really important. In my 20s, I didn't have any of that. As I get older, I have more of it. And then also being willing to ask for support and help. I used to view help as a weakness.
Yeah.
I used to think that I need to be self-reliant to do it on my own. And that what makes me, hardworking and all of this stuff. And when you've got someone who can help you, it collapses time, right? So yes, it takes time to create success. And the fastest path to that is to find somebody who has those results or who has helped others get those results so that they can accelerate that. It collapses what could take 5 years, into 1 year. And I think it's beautiful, Anthony, that you do that for your clients, right? Could they build a battle-ready business on their own? Of course they could. But why go through 10 years of struggle when they can do it through your mentorship? Yeah. That's the advice that I wish I heard in my 20s.
Well, yeah. And, I was having a call with somebody last week, and I actually did a video to give her strategy, a live video, just because I was like, hey, I'm going to share this quick strategy. And, because she has a job right now and she wants to step off, and she's doing kind of like a side hustle. And it's like, make your side hustle your main hustle. And, I did 2.5 years on the side before I stepped out and went full time into the gym. Part of it was I was being risk adverse, like all this other stuff, So really I
don't want to interrupt you there. I want to can I elaborate on that? Because that's a big one. I think it's really courageous to think about, you come up with your idea and you just quit your job and you just go pursue that passion, and then you become wildly successful, right? And there can be a challenge with that, because if you do have a family reliant on you, or you have a mortgage and all this stuff, then you're in this place of massive scarcity. And I think it is good to have, like you said, whether that side hustle or that bridge job for a period of time, provided that it's not like your safety blanket, right? It's not like keeping you inside your comfort zone so that you don't break through. And I often wonder, when I launched my coaching business, it happened not after I quit my job, it happened after I got laid off. So I was working for a company and they let me go, and it was devastating. I remember I was in a relationship at the time, and the same week I lose my full source of income, and the relationship I was in, I got dumped. So like my world, it felt like it was falling apart, right? And I was lacking confidence in all of this. And I feel like it was an absolute blessing, because I had enough pain, right, to make the uncomfortable decision of investing $20,000 in my first mentor at that time. And I wonder, if I wasn't let go, would I have chosen this path? I'd like to say, yes, I would. I'd like to view that higher self and be like, yeah, absolutely, my higher self would. And I know how long I wanted to do it, yet I had every excuse in the book, right? And another really big one was, and this can get personal, so I want to go here. When I was 25 years old, my father, died at 60, and he pretty much gave up on life and drank himself to death. And it was a really painful last few years of his life. And I remember wanting to live up to his expectations and to my grandfather's and my family and all of that, right? And that's what got me into investment banking in the first place. And I remember living and realizing I'm living most of my life for their approval instead of my own. I wonder if my father was still alive or if my grandfather was still alive, would I have chosen the path of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
That's a tough question to ask, right? So for any of you watching this, if you are at that stage where you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to pursue this business, or I really want to take my business to the next level, and your fears around what other people will think of you, I want to save you some like lifetimes of pain and anguish, and to say, some people won't support you. Some people would rather you be safe than be pursuing your dreams, straight up, right? And I felt some of that from certain family members of mine, and not from a place of like, you know, it was from a place of they wanted me to be safe, right? That was their expression of love.
Yeah.
Cool, that's their expression of love, and that's not what makes me happy. So if you're anything like me, as you're watching this or you're listening to this, and you feel like I need that approval from my parents, or I need that approval from my partner, or from whoever's in your life, there may be a time when you have to take a risk and pursue something without that approval, right? But do it from a place where you have done your due diligence, you have gotten support, you've done all those things, and my gosh, like we don't have the eyes to see. You've heard, we've heard Garrett White say that. I think that's the first time I've ever heard that, right? We don't have the eyes to see our full potential of where we're going to be.
Yeah.
So right now, it can be scary to say, oh my gosh, I'm in this job that I'm not happy with, and I want to build this business here. I don't have the eyes to see that. Well, no one ever who sat in your shoes had the eyes to see the path. I always give this metaphor of like, imagine walking through this pitch black cave, right? And you have nothing but a flashlight. And you can't see the destination of where you're going. All you can see is a few feet in front of you. But with every step that you take, more and more of that path becomes illuminated. And it's through momentum that helps you get to that destination. And guess what? You're probably going to discover at some point you're on the wrong path. Yep. And you get to course correct. But if you don't take that step, if you let those fears or those doubts or those insecurities keep you stuck, then you'll never know. And then the scariest thought is to go back to reach the end of your life and go and have that regret, right, for not doing that. Now, I'm not assuming that upon you. I'm not suggesting that your family won't support you.
Yeah.
Some of them will. And
I had somebody, I was telling them what I was doing, and they're like, hey, we should go check out and become a high school football coach. I was like, nothing wrong with that. I've always it'd be a great deal. But for me, it was kind of a slap in the face. Like, I'm like, yeah, you knew me as like a coach, but I mean, I've had two businesses, you know what I mean? I don't, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah. So,
and that's his own fear, right? He's projecting upon you, oh, well, what about you consider this safe, secure job that you could have?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he wants you to be what? Safe.
Yeah.
It's what we want. The people that we love, we want that, right? And as safe as I thought I was in the investment banking career, I mean, I felt like living that lifestyle, living that imbalance, I was the furthest thing from safe, right? I feel like there's far more security in the unpredictable uncertainty of entrepreneurship than in what I was living before. So.
Oh, absolutely. So I've had both experiences, right? I've had owning two businesses and going through really good times and challenging times, and having to, fight battles within that. And then also holding a job, and then all of a sudden you walk in and that's gone. That could be gone. You could walk in tomorrow and it's gone for a number of reasons, right? We're over here, like you're talking about, it's years that, if you do it right, you're still in control of your destiny. Mm-hmm. And for that, there's a piece, like, honestly, through that, through that experience in owning a business and kind of losing purpose of like, hey, where am I going next? Because just as like, we both listen to Garrett, and he's talking about, hey, I was at PE practice and football practice, and is like, is this all I'm going to ever be? You know, and I had those conversations where, you know, it was like, well, is this who I'm going to be? Like, as I would see people doing that job or doing that role, you know, into their 40s and 50s. And I'm like, dude, like, that's not what it is. Just like on the other side with yours, looking at that investment banker and being like, man, yeah, man, he's probably got a great income portfolio, all that stuff, but that's only one area. How is his portfolio at home, right? How is his portfolio in his health and fitness and like who he believes himself to be, right? He might have built himself up in his identity in that business. And now over here in that, you know, who he sees himself to be that's the only identity he has, you know? He is not, you know, that person, he's not that father that he could have been.
Totally, for sure. And here's the other thing, like I totally, I appreciate and respect all of that. And I feel that as well. And I've noticed in my own identity, there are times when I make my identity the right identity, right? Like, well, he should be more focused on spending time with his kids or spending time with his wife or whatever that is. And that's me projecting my own fears or my own insecurities. Or being like, hey,
it's your own values.
Yeah, exactly. That may be his model of the world, right? So for me to, and I did this where I like really pushed away from, you know, investment banking and private equity and financial services and all of these, because I felt like based on my experience, everyone didn't like their job. And that's just not true at all, right? So like I've looked at a place of like, okay, cool. So I'm clear on what my identity is that I choose it to be. And it doesn't mean that my identity is better than yours or theirs or somebody else's. It's like, cool, I respect that model of the world. And I hope that they are choosing to move in the direction of their values. Because you know, and you've discovered through the work that you've done, that oftentimes a lot of people aren't. They don't even ask themselves that, right? They don't even, like I can't imagine building a business. I can, because that's where I was started, but building a business out of alignment with your values. It doesn't matter what amount of money you're going to make in your business. If your values aren't being met, you're going to be miserable. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, you know, you end up owning that misaligned business with your values, and, you know, it's hard for it to quit you, but then it's also hard to quit that, right? So a lot of times. Yeah. So you actually own, you know, that's when people get into this place, if they don't, you know, they're owning their job, right? And where as an employee, you're somewhat owned by the employer. So, you know, there's that little business. So if you make the wrong decision going on, open up your own business, then you get stuck in a place you don't want to be, then, you know.
Yeah. Well, that comes back to having that vision, is having not just the vision, but the clarity on the values. Like when I talk about values, for some of you that aren't kind of familiar with what that word means, it has different meanings, but the context that I view it in is a value is personally, it can be our deepest level of programming, right? So like if you look at what creates our reality right now, like our reality in our own life, what led to this reality is the decisions that we made, right? The behaviors, the actions that we took. Before that was the beliefs that we had, right? So our beliefs is what created the actions. And then before that, the deepest level is our values. And our values are often what's most important to us. So if we look at, and I ask you, what is the most important thing to you in the area of career? Or what is the most important thing to you in the area of business? Some of you may say integrity, which is beautiful. And some of you may say fun. Some of you may say abundance. Some of you may say freedom, right? But everyone's values are different. And it's important to know what your values are and then create boundaries around those values. So the moment that you find that one of your employees is breaking one of the company's values, right, that's where you have to have a hard decision.
Yeah.
And, you know, or the values in your relationship, right? What do you value? What is most important to you when it comes to love? Cool. Okay. If integrity is the most important value, or honesty, and you find that that's broken, right, you can create a boundary around that to say, do I want to choose to still be with this person? So values are so important because it's how we value and how we spend our time.
Yeah. I mean, look, talking about values, I remember one of the deepest values that I created around family and what I wanted for my career and what drives me personally to, create a business and have, the freedom of choice of where I'm going to be, is, my dad only came to a few of my my freshman and sophomore football games. I think it was like 2 to 3.
Yep.
And it was because he was working, and, it wasn't until I got, until the games were on Friday nights and Saturday nights that he came to all the games.
Yep.
And I said, I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to be restricted by something like that because, for me, not living with my dad, I had him around, but, that was one more thing that kind of pulled him away from me. So, and I didn't get to experience that, so that's one of the deepest values as far as like what drives me, to, be with my family and to have that freedom of choice, not being confined by anything. So
I love that. That's good.
Yeah. So we kind of got off track with sales.
But I think this is good. I mean, regardless of what direction we're going in, Anthony, I mean, I feel like anyone watching this right now or who's watching the replay of this has gotten value from this. And I hope that they are taking notes here because, if there's one thing that I would say that, yes, we talked about a lot of things other than sales tonight, but think about it. How do you grow your business? You grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I can give you the best sales book in the world to read, right? Or the best sales conference to go to. But if you're not growing yourself, then your business is not going to grow. Maybe it'll grow incrementally, but the fastest way I've experienced to grow your business is by working on me. And that's through my journaling and my meditation, through my fitness, and through all these other areas because it expands my capacity of what's possible, right? It expands my energy. It expands my courage, all these things. So even though we haven't maybe directly spoken about sales for a little bit of this podcast, everything's connected to that because when you become more committed, when you become more powerful, when you become more confident, guess what? You're going to be that much better at selling your product and service.
Well, even to aligning it to sales, right? Like if you stop wanting to sell, like if your values underline, your mission's not there anymore, right? Like you're not going to do that, right? And I experienced that, when I, the last few years at the gym, like I didn't have this ethos. Like I was kind of, as far as fitness, right, where that was going and what I was, I was conflicted because I had this, I completed this whole course on, individual program design, and we still had a group model, and then that was the whole business. And it's like, well, how do you do that? And then it just became kind of convoluted because, I didn't know how to reconcile those differences, right?
Yep.
So in that, right, when you start noticing that, and that's one thing I'd want someone to take away. And I've experienced trying to sell something that I really didn't believe in, just because I thought it was what I was supposed to be doing, or what I was, this is the new path, and it just didn't work. I mean, some people can do it, right? And that's another thing is like, you find if you're one of those people that are authentic, right, and do your best to be really straight, black and white, and you're not going to be able to sell shit, right, if you don't believe in it.
Yep.
Straight.
Yeah.
And it's a different level. So, I mean, you can bullshit, lie your way through things and make it easy, but it'll catch up.
Yeah, even if you get some success there, right? That's great. You got some success. And imagine when you truly like own that product or service that you're selling. Like when you believe that it's that good, and I don't mean like inauthentically do that or dishonestly, but I mean like from a place of like this inner knowing, like, okay, I believe I have very significant confidence when it comes to my coaching, right? Now that didn't start there. That did not start there for the first couple of years, right? In the beginning, I kind of did have to fake a little bit of that, right? I had to act as if, I had to speak as if it was already there, right? And still, I look at myself and I go, my gosh, there's so much more to grow.
Yeah.
That attitude, I think, is a really healthy attitude of being like, yes, I believe that I'm providing great service, and how can I do better? What can I do better? How can I grow? How can I impact even more?
Ah, awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we'll wrap it up from here today. Have any final words or anything from here on out?
Yeah, final words would be have fun. Like, have fun. Sales, I think, is one of the most enjoyable, fun, meaningful aspects of business, right? Because you have an opportunity to share your gift and impact somebody's life significantly.
Yeah.
And when you do that, come from a place of how can I help this person, how can I serve them, versus how can I close this person and get that next sale, or how can I. And I get it. If you're just building, it can be scary, right? Because you're just building and maybe you don't have a strong foundation underneath you yet. Maybe you did just quit your job and you're like, well, Peter, you don't understand. My back's up against the wall and I got to pay my mortgage at the end of this month. I get that. And coming from that place of how can I help them instead of how do I help me, you will find that you will enroll more and more people who can walk away from your product or service raving fans. And that will create not just you as being a great salesperson, but all of your clients and all of your customers as being raving fans. So in that process, have fun, become a student, become genuinely curious about each person that you're talking to, whether it's in a one-to-one conversation or a one-to-many, and be patient. Because as you asked me, if there's advice I would give my 20-year-old self, it's that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
So enjoy this journey, because blink of an eye and it goes by fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I look back, I mean, like back to the 20-year-old self. I mean, I got started at 24. And if I would go back and like coach my 24-year-old self, it was this framework that I picked up from, which I ended up doing in the gym, like in a 24-hour fitness, that first, when that sales clicked, was behavior, right? This just simple framework. And as you progress through your stages of success, right, in sales, behavior, attitude, technique, right? And, I look back and I'm like, hey, the behavior was just saying hi and setting that expectation. And that was it. That's the only thing I had to deliver on right then. It was just hi, 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 hi. So I would go back and say, hey, just go around and focus on, just behavior, right? Give this frame. Cause, you got to start there. You got to get the reps in. So
true. Yep. I love it.
Yeah. And just, my thing would be just say hi. Just start there.
Yeah. Just take one step. That's it. Right.
That's it.
Just take one step.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Yeah. Thanks so much. And then we'll be back. Little schedule change since it is Mother's Day. I'll put up some posts. I might just post a video of a recording and not be live since it is Mother's Day. But we're going to talk with Luke Kayam, lifestyle coach and father of the future, about lifestyle and personal development. So we'll see you next week. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right, that wraps this week's episode of the Be Battle Ready podcast, brought to you by Battle Ready Business. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or current business owner and you'd like to take your business to the next level, go over to battlereadybusiness.com to apply for a complimentary one-on-one Battle Ready strategy session. During this session, we'll take a deep dive look into where you're at, where you want to go, and come up with the fastest path for you to build a multi-six-figure battle-ready business. So go over to battlereadybusiness.com to apply for that strategy session, and I look forward to supporting you.